Some phone calls feel unimportant until one day you realize there won't be another one. I didn't know I was living through my last chance. Neither did my father. My father called me almost every Sunday for 12 years. Most Sundays, I let it ring. The last voicemail he ever left stayed unopened on my phone for 3 days. I finally listened to it after we buried him. People hear that and usually assume we must have had some awful falling out. We didn't. No shouting match, no family feud, no 20-year grudge. That would have been easier to live with. The truth was much smaller, and looking back, a whole lot uglier. I just kept believing there'd always be another Sunday. I'm Mike, 61, retired now. Spent almost 40 years working for a regional trucking company, making sure freight got where it was supposed to go. I was good at schedules, deadlines, returning calls, unless the call came from my father. Funny how that works. By then my wife, Karen, and I had been married more than 30 years. Our daughter lived across the state. Our son, David, had a family of his own. We had one grandson who treated every wrench in my garage like buried treasure. Life wasn't perfect, but it was steady. Dad still lived alone in the little house where I grew up. After Mum died, he refused to leave it. Same front porch, same faded mailbox, same old Ford pickup that somehow outlived 3 different lawnmowers. He wasn't lonely in the dramatic way people imagine. He went to church, had breakfast at the diner most Tuesdays, talked to neighbors over the fence. But every Sunday, he called me. People always ask if we were close. I honestly don't know how to answer that. We loved each other. I'm sure of that. We just weren't very good at saying much. He'd ask how work was going. I'd say, busy. He'd ask about Karen, the kids, the weather. 10 minutes later, we'd hang up. Nothing wrong with the conversation. Nothing memorable either. Somehow, that made it easy to believe it could always happen next week instead. Sunday afternoons usually found me outside, cleaning the grill, changing the oil in my truck, straightening the garage for no reason other than I liked having something to do with my hands. My phone would buzz across the workbench. I'd already know who it was before I looked. Dad. I'd wipe the grease off my fingers, stare at the screen, then flip the phone over. I'll call him after dinner. Dinner came, then dishes, then the evening news, then Monday morning. The next Sunday, he'd call again. Same voice, same easy tone. Hey, Mike, just checking in. Give me a call when you get a chance. Love you. That was it. No guilt, no sigh, no, why don't you ever answer? Just 4 or 5 ordinary sentences. Looking back, those ordinary sentences were doing a lot more work than I realized. The strange part is, I never thought of myself as a bad son. I'd visit a few times a year, send birthday cards, helped replace his old coffee maker one Christmas because it leaked all over the counter. In my mind, I was doing enough. I think I'd spent so many years solving problems at work that I started looking at family the same way. If nothing was wrong, nothing needed my attention. One Saturday afternoon, Karen stepped into the garage while I was reorganizing a shelf that honestly didn't need reorganizing. My phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Your dad? I know. You gonna get it? In a minute. She leaned against the doorway, didn't push, didn't lecture. After a few seconds, she said quietly, You've been saying in a minute for a long time. I smiled. Not because it was funny, because I really believed I would call him back. I'll do it tonight. She nodded once. Okay. That was the end of the conversation. She never brought it up again. I never made the call. A few months passed before it hit me that I hadn't seen Dad in almost 8 months. 8 months. That number surprised me more than it should have. Karen was pouring coffee one Saturday morning when she looked at me over the rim of her mug. "You should go see him." I know. So go. No argument, no speech, just that. After breakfast, I headed out. The drive hadn't changed since I was a teenager. The old grain elevators, the feed store, the little diner where Dad used to buy me pancakes after Little League games. His truck was parked exactly where it always was. When he opened the front door, I almost didn't recognize what felt different. He hadn't suddenly become an old man. He'd just become smaller. His flannel shirt hung a little loose. His shoulders weren't quite as straight. Walking back toward the kitchen, he reached for the wall for balance. Just for a second. Like he hoped I wouldn't notice. I noticed. Neither of us said anything. "You hungry?" he asked. "I made chili." "Yeah, sounds good." We ate at the kitchen table. The television carried the sound of a baseball game from the living room. Every now and then, he'd nod toward the screen. "That rookie's got a good arm." "Yeah." Silence again. After lunch, we carried our coffee out onto the porch. The maple tree in the front yard had already started dropping leaves. "A little early this year," he said. "Looks like it." He rubbed his knee. "Rain coming." I nodded. I could have asked how long it had been bothering him, whether he'd seen a doctor, whether he was sleeping okay. Instead, I took another sip of coffee. When I left, he walked me to my truck. "Drive safe." "I will." He rested one hand on the door. "Don't wait so long next time." "I won't." He smiled. Not a sad smile, just tired. I know. On the drive home, I actually felt pretty good. I'd gone. We'd had lunch. We'd watched a little baseball. I'd done what I was supposed to do. I even caught myself thinking, see, that wasn't hard. Then life got busy again. And somehow, another 8 months slipped by. The call came on a Tuesday morning, not Sunday, not from Dad. An unfamiliar number flashed across my phone while I was standing in the driveway trying to figure out why the garage door remote had stopped working. I almost let it ring. "Hello, is this Michael Turner?" "Yes." "This is County Memorial Hospital." Something in the woman's voice made me stop moving. "I'm sorry, sir. Your father was brought in early this morning." I grabbed my truck keys before she finished the sentence. "Can I talk to him?" Silence. Just for a second. Then, "I'm very sorry." The drive should have taken a little over 2 hours. I don't remember a single mile of it. I remember passing trucks. I remember gripping the steering wheel hard enough that my hands hurt. Mostly, I remember making bargains with nobody. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe they pronounced him dead too soon. Maybe he'll still be there. He wasn't. A nurse met me near the elevators. She spoke quietly, like people do in hospitals. "I'm sorry for your loss." I nodded. She led me into a small office instead of a hospital room. That was when I knew. There wouldn't be a goodbye. No final conversation. No chance to tell him I'd been planning to visit again. Planning. I'd spent years planning. The nurse slid a clear plastic bag across the desk. Inside was his wallet, his keys, his wedding ring, his watch. I picked up the watch. It had a scratch across the glass I'd noticed years ago when we were fixing his fence. I'd forgotten about it. He hadn't replaced it. He just kept wearing it. I stared at that watch longer than I should have. The nurse asked if I had any questions. I honestly couldn't think of one. The funeral was 3 days later. Dad would have approved. Simple, short, no fuss. A handful of neighbors, people from church, 2 old men from the diner who still called him Junior, even though they were all in their 80s. One after another, they shook my hand. Your dad was a good man. He sure loved his family. He talked about you all the time. That last one kept coming back. He talked about me all the time. I hadn't talked to him all that much. The morning after the funeral, I unlocked his front door. The house smelled exactly the same. Coffee, old wood, a little dust. For one stupid second, I expected to hear him say, "Back already." Instead, nothing. People don't tell you what it's like to empty your parents' house. You don't start with the important things. You start with paper towels, half a bottle of dish soap, a loaf of bread that should have been thrown away a week earlier, a grocery list still hanging on the refrigerator with a magnet shaped like a fish, milk, eggs, coffee, bananas. Life doesn't disappear when somebody dies. It simply stops in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday. His coffee mug sat beside the sink. There was still a brown ring inside. His reading glasses rested on yesterday's newspaper. One slipper was under the recliner. The other sat near the couch, as if he'd been about to stand up. The garage was exactly the way he'd left it. Fishing rods lined up against one wall. A coffee can full of loose screws. An old radio covered with sawdust. His work boots stood by the side door. I picked one up. The leather had cracked around the ankle. The sole was worn almost smooth on one side. He'd always walked with a slight lean after hurting his hip years ago. I set the boot back exactly where I'd found it. I don't know why. It just felt wrong to move it. Late that afternoon, I started clearing out the living room. Photo albums, instruction manuals for appliances nobody owned anymore, a drawer full of batteries, half of them dead. The television sat on a small cabinet. Under it, an old answering machine. One of those cassette models people stopped using years ago. I almost unplugged it without thinking. Instead, I pressed the play button. The little green light blinked. A tape began to turn. I expected to hear his messages. Instead, I heard myself. "Hey Dad, running late today. I'll call tomorrow." Beep, another message. "Sorry, can't make it this weekend." Beep, another. "Things are crazy around here. I'll get up there soon." Beep. I lowered myself into his recliner. I hadn't planned to sit down. My legs just did. There were dozens of them. Some only lasted 10 seconds. Some maybe half a minute. None of them important. Every one of them an excuse. Everyone ending with another promise. Tomorrow. Next weekend. Soon. He'd saved every single one. Not birthday messages, not holidays, not special occasions. Ordinary excuses. Because they were mine. The tape. Click again. "I've got to run. Talk to you later." Beep. I covered my eyes. He hadn't saved those messages because of what I said. He'd saved them because they were the only pieces of my voice he could replay whenever he wanted. The room was completely silent. Then I remembered the voicemail still sitting on my own phone. The one I'd never opened. I pressed play. "Hey Mike." His voice sounded exactly the way it always had. Steady, relaxed. No rush. A short pause. "I just wanted to hear your voice." Another pause. Then, "Love you, son." That was all. No disappointment, no guilt, no complaint. Nothing except 4 words I'd been too busy to hear. I listened again, then again. By the 4th time, I wasn't hearing the message anymore. I was hearing every Sunday I'd chosen something else instead. The next morning, I went back to the house. There were still closets to empty, drawers to sort through, paperwork to stack into neat little piles. It's strange what survives a person. 3 pairs of reading glasses, a flashlight with brand new batteries, rubber bands wrapped around old envelopes, coupons that expired years ago, things you keep because someday you might need them. Around lunchtime, I opened the small desk in the spare bedroom, insurance papers, tax returns, my mother's handwritten recipes, a warranty for a microwave they hadn't owned in 20 years. Under all of that, a little pocket calendar, nothing special, the kind banks used to give away for free every January. I flipped through it without paying much attention. Then I noticed something. Every Sunday had writing on it, not long entries, just a few words, called Mike. The next Sunday, talked 4 minutes. The next, left message. Another week, no answer. I turned another page, same thing. Then another, month after month, year after year. Never. Wish he'd call more. Never. Disappointed again. Never. I'm tired of trying. Just facts. Called Mike. Left message. Talked 3 minutes. No answer. I sat there holding that little calendar for a long time. It finally hit me. Those phone calls had been part of his routine. The same way Tuesday breakfast at the diner was. The same way mowing the lawn every Thursday had been. To me, they were interruptions. To him, they were simply part of his week. That afternoon, I carried a few boxes out to my truck. Mr. Collins, the neighbor, was trimming his hedge. He looked up when he heard me. Making progress? A little. He walked over, still holding the hedge clippers. Your dad would have hated somebody else cleaning his garage. I smiled. Yeah, he probably would have. Mr. Collins looked toward the house. It's going to feel empty around here. Neither of us said anything for a few seconds. Then he asked, "You keeping the truck?" "I think so." "Good." Another pause. "You know, your dad was proud of you." I looked at him. He never really said much. Mr. Collins chuckled. He didn't have to. He talked about you every week. What did he say? "Oh," he shrugged. "The usual. Mike's working hard. The kids are doing well. He's busy these days." Busy. That word again. I looked down at the gravel. I should have come more. Mr. Collins was quiet. Then he said something I'll never forget. "You know what your dad never said?" I shook my head. "He never said you didn't care." I looked up. "Not once. He always figured you had a lot going on." He'd say, Mr. Collins smiled a little, "He'll get here when he can." That was it. No anger, no resentment, no keeping score. For years, my father had been protecting me from guilt I hadn't even felt yet. I drove home with the windows down even though it was colder than I realized. No radio, no phone, just the sound of the tires on the highway. For almost 2 hours, I kept replaying those Sundays. Every excuse sounded reasonable by itself. Football game, working overtime. The grill was already hot. We had company coming over. I was tired. One excuse never looked like much. 12 years of them looks like a life. A few weeks later, my son, David, sent me a text. "Busy this week. Talk later." A year earlier, I would have answered, "No problem," and left it there. Instead, I stared at the screen. For the first time in my life, I wasn't reading my son's message. I was hearing my own voice on that answering machine. "Next weekend." "Soon. I'll call tomorrow." That Sunday, I called him. Voicemail. I almost hung up. Then I stopped myself. "Hey, David. No rush. Just checking in. Give me a call when you get a chance. Love you. A couple hours later, my phone rang. Hey, Dad. Everything okay? Yeah. I just wanted to hear your voice. There was a little silence. Then he laughed. Well, here I am. We talked maybe 5 minutes. Work, the weather, my grandson's baseball practice. Nothing I'd remember a month later. Everything I'll remember for the rest of my life. Now I call him most Sundays. Sometimes he answers. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes we only talk for 3 minutes. Sometimes it's 30 seconds. Sometimes all I get is voicemail. I leave the message anyway. I don't keep score anymore. I don't wonder whose turn it is to call, because now I understand something I didn't understand until it was too late. Most parents don't call because they need information. They already know you're busy. They already know the weather where you live. They already know you probably don't have anything new to say. Sometimes they just miss the sound of your voice. Every few weeks, I stop by the cemetery. Not on Father's Day, not on his birthday. Usually on an ordinary Sunday afternoon. I pick up a coffee from the little diner he liked. Black, no sugar. I set the cup beside his headstone and sit on the bench for a while. I tell him about David, about my grandson hitting his first home run, about finally fixing the garage door, about nothing important. Exactly the kind of things I used to think could wait until next week. The wind moves through the trees. Cars pass somewhere beyond the cemetery. Then it's quiet again. For years, I thought my father wanted my time. Turns out, he just wanted to hear my voice.